What is going on, everyone out there in the social media land? Mark, good to see your face. I just seen you at church, but you know what? Good to see you on a computer. You look much better with that, that ring light and everything
Oh yeah,
glistening off of that
the
gray
ring
beard.
light you let me borrow. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah, it's good to see you too, baby brother. Back for another
awesome.
episode of Cats Chat.
Before we get diving into what we want to talk about, so excited for week one of football. But as we got scrolled across the bottom here, go follow us real quick on X, not Twitter, but X. It is at Cats Chat Pod, Instagram at Chat Pod as well, Facebook, facebook.com at Chat. Wow, that's hard to say. Pod. And also, I've got it now. We are on Spotify, Apple Pod, and Google Podcasts as well. So please go follow, like, share, subscribe, turn on the notification, ring that bell, and all that whole 9 yards. We appreciate everything. Mark, I can't wait till I get my cup on Labor Day weekend. I know you seen the picture of it on
Yeah,
Facebook.
I saw pictures of the cup. It looks nice.
It really looks nice. So I've
Who
got
was
me a
it that
cup.
you had make it for you?
It's Mary Keene.
Okay.
Mary Beth Colinger. But so yeah, really excited about that. And as we get that in, I will kind of display it, guys. And if y'all want one as well, let me know. We can get that order in for you. But I know you guys are not happy to see mine and Mark's faces, as beautiful as we are.
Hey,
We will
Johnny.
go ahead. Appreciate you, Johnny, joining in as always. And thank you for finally including my name as well. But Mark, I will go ahead and turn it over to you and let you do the wonderful introduction as you always do as we bring on our guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have probably one of my favorite linebackers from our era for UK football. He's a two-time team captain. He's from Kentucky, which makes it even sweeter. And I think he could pump about anybody up for a football game. Mr. Kash Daniel is going to join us this evening. What's going on?
There he
What's going
is.
on, boys? Appreciate y'all having me on, man.
Oh,
Hey,
thank
we
you for
appreciate
joining.
you coming on.
Listen, I made the little graphic. I say little graphic, the meme. What went viral with your little sideline stunt that you did, and I thought it wasn't going to have volume or anything when I put it on Facebook about you joining us. And as soon as it came off, it had you hollering on there. I was like, "Oh man, I am pumped now. Let's go!"
It had me ready to suit up.
Well, no, I'm fragile. I don't want to do that now. But Cash, before we get into even knowing a little bit about you or diving in deep to you, what went on for that scene? Because I've watched a couple of YouTube videos about what took place in that, but what inspired that?
Man, that was something that I'm a big wrestling fan. I grew up in the era of toward the end of the Attitude Era, and like I started watching wrestling. I was born in '97. And I started watching wrestling probably around 2000, 2001. And I can just remember, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and then it gets into the Ruthless Aggression era, with John Cena and Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Batista, all those guys. And it was just something that, invited me into that world of, being intense all the time and, going out there and, to be quite honest with you, those guys are probably some of the more athletic human beings on this earth. We know it's choreographed, but, they got to be able to go out there and execute just like we would be able to go out and execute a game plan. And so Stone Cold Steve Austin, really kind of resonated with me just because he is who he was, man. And he was unapologetic about it. And, he was a, good country boy from down in Texas, and the bashing of the beers and everything, was just kind of like his signature thing. And so, I never seen anybody do. There's a lot of cool celebrations in athletics, but nobody had really ever done the Stone Cold Steve Austin, which kind of blew my mind just because of how a mesmerizing figure he was for a lot of people growing up. So, the clock was about to strike zero. And I knew we had this win in the bag. And I grabbed my video guy and I was like, man, I got something planned. Just stick by me. And, but the thing about it is, man, I was on KSR pre-show yesterday with my boy Billy. And somebody had, asked what was going through my head at that time. And, and not to get, start off, too deep for you guys, man. But, it was cool at the moment. And it was, that's just how I play, like when I'm on the field, I just become in that different mindset, that different entity. It's almost like a different human being because, another idol of mine growing up was Brian Dawkins, safety for the Philadelphia Eagles. Is one of the most intense, emotional, raw players that the league and football has ever seen, along with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and those type of guys. Those are the guys that I related to. Those are the guys that I grew up watching, and those are the guys that I wanted to implement my game after and implement my mindset after. And so, when I'm on the field, in that moment, I'm jacked, juiced, everything's through the roof. And, it was a cool moment, but, I look back on it now and, the thing about it is that I always prided myself on, being, the best teammate that I could possibly be. And, when I watch that video, man, and I see all my teammates running out there and I see Chris Oates trying to come up and give me a hug, it kind of takes me back to realize that, I wish I would have done that after I celebrated with my teammates instead of making it all about myself at that time. But, it's cool, looking back on it, for fans to look back on it. And I'm glad everybody's, I guess still uses the GIF and the video and everything. I guess that'll be attached to me for the rest of the time. But, if I could do it all over again, I'd still do it. Don't get me wrong.
Just different timing, right?
Just different timing. Yeah. But yeah, that's really what was going through my head at that time. And, it was a monumental win for that program and for what Coach Stoops has been trying to build for that program, ever since he stepped on campus. The guys that I did it with, like Josh Allen, Benny, Darius West, Chris Westry, I can go on for days of guys that, that were vital keys to us winning that game. And, it was a cool moment. And then now we came back to Lexington a couple years ago and finally beat them at home. And went down to Florida last year, took care of business. And so now they come back up to Lexington this year. And so and I think Dane Key did a pretty damn good job of recreating, the viral moment. But if I had to give him a score on that, I'd give him about an 8. That was pretty good.
8.
But it means more that he was a Kentucky kid doing it too. So
right.
I may give him an extra brownie points for that.
Well, I think that's kind of what draws people to you guys is like, because you're Kentucky boys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're from Eastern Kentucky just like we are. And I think that's what makes it like we can connect with people like you because you have a love for Kentucky sports like we do.
Yeah, man. That was the thing with me was that I was always going to be me. I'm a small town kid, just like you all down there in Harlan County. I'm from Johnson County. I'm from the third smallest public school in the state of Kentucky. I graduated with 52 kids, from a town. It's just like every East Kentucky town. Everybody knows everybody. You know their first cousins, their grandmothers, their aunts, and it's. So I think that's really what helped resonate with all the great fans across the state was that I'm just like y'all. I'm a small town kid with big dreams, and fortunately it worked out for me. And, I just want to be the best representative of the state, especially the eastern side of the state, which at the time didn't get a lot of love and attention, especially in recruiting. And, I'm thankful to be able to go back to Paintsville this weekend. Unfortunately, I do have to miss the game this week. I got to go back and, I get to go back and be inducted into the Paintsville High School Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it, man. Joining great athletes that come out of that such small school like Joey Couch and John Pelfrey and, so many great athletes that come out of there, man. So I'm very fortunate to, be a kid from Eastern Kentucky and be able to come up and, at least, be a part of a program and make some sort of impact. And now you look at it to where there's so many other kids getting an opportunity from Eastern Kentucky, not just from the University of Kentucky, but, all over the country. And so there's a lot of talent, hidden in those mountains. So I'm glad that, if people say that, I was a part of, helping, bring that to the mountains in Eastern Kentucky, then, that's the proudest thing I can be proud of.
Absolutely. One thing I do want to talk to you about, talking about the mountains and everything, Eastern Kentucky, the whole stigma of everything here, I do appreciate how you said, the stepping stone basically on that. When did you realize, hey, there's a chance for me to possibly go on to D1 and the work ethics that you had to put in? Like, when was the changing point for you to say, it's time to get serious on this?
Man, so fortunately for me, I come from a great athletic family. My grandfather, he was a semi-professional baseball player. My uncle played football for 1 year at East Tennessee State, and he was supposed to play baseball there as well. Something happened to where he couldn't play baseball, so went to a JUCO and then ended up at Western to finish out his baseball career there. And my dad actually went to East Tennessee State as well to play basketball and baseball.
Okay.
So it was instilled in me early at an early age that if you want something, you have to go the extra mile to get what you want, especially where we come from, And for me, sports was always an outlet for me. Sports was always something that helped me, create friends and create, relationships with people. And once I realized that, that if my dad can do this, and I love my dad to death. I mean, I wish I had his height. He's about 6'4", but his nickname's Rail for a reason. He was about $175 soaking wet, and if he can go out there and put in the work and be able to, further his education and play at a high level, I knew that I could too. And to be honest with you, man, I thought I was a better baseball player than I was a football player. But at the end of the day, I kind of like hitting people better than I like hitting baseballs. So,
What
at an
position did
early
you play?
age for me-
Catcher?
No, I was a first baseman.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That'd be my
I'm big,
second.
I'm big left-hander, bub.
Hey, okay.
There you
I
go.
knew I liked you. There we go.
Yeah. So
Left or pitch, nothing else.
And so when I was in 6th grade, man, I just really fell in love with football. The emotion that comes behind it, the brotherhood that's established, the work that you have to put in. And, fortunately, I was introduced to the weight room going into my 7th grade year. And that's when I really fell in love with it. I just got back from working out today. It's something that, instilled discipline in me along with sports and, being accountable to not only to yourself and your craft, but to your teammates as well. And I can remember when I was a little kid, and this is the reason why I believe in manifestation. I remember telling people when I was in the 2nd grade that I was going to go play Division I sports. I didn't say football, but I was going to play Division I something. And, most people are like, in the 2nd grade, they're like, well, what the hell is that? And then as you get older, you start telling people this stuff and, you get a couple chuckles here and there. But that's the thing, man. If you got goals set for yourself and people aren't, kind of laughing about it or giving you a jab about it here and there, then I don't think you set your goals, big enough for yourself. Because at the end of the day, man, no matter where you come from, no matter what situation you're in, if you got the determination, the mindset, and the work ethic to do anything you want to do, you can do it, man. So it was instilled in me at an early age, and it's something that drove me to want to be the best. So I credit that to my family. I credit that to the hardworking people of Eastern Kentucky, just to have to go out and do what you got to do to put food on the table. And one of my biggest inspirations in my life was my grandfather. People talk about today about getting out of the mud. My grandfather, you could write a story about that guy. No college education, born in a coal camp in Johnson County. Started off at Kentucky West Virginia Gas as one of the lowest men on the totem pole, worked his way all the way up to being the president of the company. And then, but going on to have a good political career for our small town in Paintsville. And so, he taught me that, no matter where you come from, don't ever forget. He would always tell me a story about going around in Frankfurt and, being in the hall and everybody saying, I'm from Louisville, I'm from Lexington. He easily could have said, I'm from Paintsville or I'm from Pikeville or whatever. He said, I'm from Muddy Branch, Kentucky. And everybody's like, well, it was that.
Right.
That's awesome. I think that's one thing that sometimes you see, like I try to tell kids today, it's like a lot of kids don't have that same drive and that same determination. And it doesn't matter what you want to be good at. You got to put the work in if you want to be good at it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get kids to see that nowadays.
Yeah, man, it's a different generation now, man. I think that's when a lot of people ask me, they're like, why don't you get into coaching? I was like, man, I'd be fired within a month. Because, the way I only know sports and I only know football, especially, to be played one way and to go at it one way. And that's full tilt, full speed, raw emotion, and, outworking the guy across from you. Because it's not about, like, I'm better than you. It's about getting each other better. And so, that's why, you hear a lot of coaches like, don't be friends out here today, get each other better. And so, I just think today in time, with kids with, we're talking right now on a live stream, all over social media. They got social media, they got video games, they got this and that. I had a PlayStation, but I never really played that much. I was more worried about, how many fish can I go catch in the creek, or, let's go for a run. Let's go, lift. Let's go do something to, ultimately set myself up later. there's a good saying by one of my favorite artists, Mike Stud. He says, pay the price today so you can pay whatever later. So, that's kind of what I've lived by, for the last few years, and ultimately, all the way growing up.
That's awesome. You want to pull that question up for him, Michael?
Oh yeah. Matt brought in on Facebook real quick. Said, which one's better, a big tackle or having a cold beer fishing in a creek bank?
That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I would say, there's nothing like. I mean, you can. And here's what I tell guys today, especially, guys that are in college or guys that are, recruits and everything. I'm like, there's going to be so many, things that you can do right now, but those are also going to be there when you're done playing, and that's one thing that, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've always, I've enjoyed a cold one on the creek bank or, out with my buddies around a bonfire or something like that. But, there's nothing like making a big tackle on a third down stop or, a tackle for loss or anything like that. No matter if it's in front of your, your hometown crowd under the lights on Friday nights or, at a packed Kroger field, man, there's nothing like it. And, but if I had to choose, man, it would be to go back and, make one more tackle.
Gotcha. Quick question on this here, if you don't mind. Kentucky, I know Kentucky grown and everything. If you didn't choose Kentucky, what would have been your second pick?
Man, that's a good question. My recruiting was very, very weird. Like I was saying, especially, and when I say in those days, I mean, I make myself sound older than what I am, but the way that recruiting has changed, it really feels like it's been, 25, 30 years, the way it's changed with social media and, all the other opportunities that kids have these days. But I didn't start getting recruited until going into my senior year. So coming out of my junior year,
Okay.
I got my first offer from Austin Peay. I'll never forget it. I was on the Herschel Walker home workout program doing push-ups, sit-ups in between commercials on the TV. And I get a call from my offensive coordinator who helped me tremendously to get recruited. So a big shout out to Jason Kenner, who's now the athletic director at Paintsville High School. Man, he went leaps and bounds for me to get my name out there, sending film of me on the field, sending film of me in practice in the weight room. We actually had a map that he taught. He had a classroom, and we had a map set up, and we would circle a region of who we were going to send film to that day, no matter what level it was, all the way from the top of Division I, all the way down to Division I AA. And so Austin Peay called me the next morning, or he called me that night and said that Austin Peay was going to call and offer me after weights that day. And then they called and offered, and I went in. I remember, telling my dad that, you're not going to have to pay for me to go to college, because that was my thing, man. If it wasn't for college football, I would have been in the Marine Corps. So,
okay.
And then after that offer came, here came EKU, Ohio U, Ball State, Troy. Shout out head coach John Summerall and the Troy Trojans down there. And then I got invited to a couple combines and, had a great performance out in there. And then back in those days, you had to have at least 3 Division I offers to get invited to the Rivals camp. And the nearest rival camp to me was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I get there, and I'm the only kid there that doesn't have a Power 5 offer, but I have 3 Division I offers. Right. So I go there. I have a great outing. I I got like 6th overall from offense and defense in that camp. And then I got starred as a 3-star. And then DJ Elliott, defensive coordinator at the time, came to watch us in spring ball the next week. So we had spring ball at 6 a.m. Then we had baseball after school. So small school stuff there.
Yeah.
And but what really kicked it off for me, though, with Kentucky was before that was when John Schlarman came to watch me work out. And and I'll say this to this day until I die, if it wasn't for John Schlarman, I would have never had the opportunity to play at the University of Kentucky. And so he came to watch me work out, and that led to Coach Elliott coming to watch me practice. And then I got an offer later that day. And then here comes Louisville, here comes South Carolina, here comes Florida, here comes, almost every school in the SEC except Alabama, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and Georgia. So at the end of the day, I think I narrowed it down between Kentucky, Louisville, and South Carolina. I don't know, man. That's a hard question. I definitely wouldn't have went to Louisville, so I'd probably have to say South Carolina.
All right, sounds good. Let's see here. What else I've got?
That's kind of neat. We got a high school basketball player here in Harlan County that got an offer from South Carolina, so that's pretty cool.
Columbia's a hell of a place, man. It really is. But that was when that was Steve Spurrier's last year. So if I would have went to South Carolina, he would have left midway through my freshman year. So ultimately, I think I made a great decision in coming here.
Yeah, man. Talk about some of the maybe struggles that you had to go through in your whole journey with this, from fitting in with the UK players to anything you want to talk about on that. Because, I mean, we hear about recruiting and how great it is, but we don't hear about some of the struggles you go through. Could be physicality, mental, just the whole missing home.
Man, I'd say that the biggest struggle for me, especially early out, was the difference in the speed and physicality of the game. I mean, I come from, like I said, the third smallest public school in the state of Kentucky. And, not to knock on, Kentucky athletics, especially, 1A, but, we didn't have the greatest of competition, week in and week out. And so I think that the going to different camps and competing against kids, across the state and across the region, that were the best of the best, really, I guess helped me in that aspect. But I can remember so I graduated high school early and I got to spring ball early. And I could just remember how fast the game was and how dynamic the playbook was. Because at that time, man, in high school, like, we had play calls and we had gap responsibilities and things like that. But, it was just more see ball, get ball,
Yeah.
And, when you get to college, it's like, okay, there's 11 battles involved in one war. And you have to win your battle before you go and try to help somebody else. So, and learning the playbook, learning the lingo, and so I really didn't learn how to play linebacker really until I got to college. And so I can credit that to Matt House, who's now the defensive coordinator at LSU. And he was, so hard on me. I can remember him telling me almost every week in practice that if I don't pick it up, he's going to send my ass back to Paintsville. So I guess that guy was the extra motivating factor. Yep. But, and the class sizes, man, the figuring out like where you're supposed to go. I mean, my biggest class in high school was probably, 22 kids. And then you walk into an auditorium hall with, 300, 350
right.
kids, so, but, that was a struggle early on. And then, life happens, I went through a pretty dark time in my senior year, losing my grandfather. At that time, like I said, I mean, he was my best friend, and there was, and I'm not gonna lie, man, there was at one point, I was like, man, do you really love this? Like, do you really love this, or do you just like playing football? So, and that takes me back to a quote that I heard: do you like it, or are you committed? And so, in a state of mind like that, going through, a little bit of depression here and there, of losing someone that close to me that I spent most of my time with, as a kid growing up and through my teenage years especially. And he was always my biggest fan, never missed a game, no matter if he was sick, no matter if he was, almost physically unable to be there. He always made sure to show up and be there for me. So, just battling through that, and big credit to my teammates and my coaches for, really being your brother's keeper. And, being there for me. My trainer, Gabe, I would go in his office and we just talk, for an hour. And, you're not just a jersey number at the University of Kentucky. People actually genuinely care about you as a human being. And so, I'm very thankful, for all the guys that, lifted me up in that time and, really helped me understand that, hey, man, we're here for you. And, other than that, man, just figuring out the playbook. And I can remember the turning point for me was Darius West. Courtney Love, I was his backup for 2 years, and Courtney had gotten injured the week prior. And so on Monday, I was running with the ones. And at that time, man, I was more worried about being an SEC beer drink, all SEC beer drinker than an all SEC linebacker. I'll just be quite frank with y'all.
Right.
Definitely should have been redshirted. And here's the thing, if I would have gotten redshirted, I would have had a COVID year. And if I would have had a COVID year, I'd have had first year of NIL.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
You would have ate
That's
the
tough.
NIL up. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I know we're kind of interrupting you there on this, but like by far, when you think Kentucky football, especially with people in Kentucky, like Kash Daniel's first name that pops up. I mean, I don't care who it is. So yeah, you would have ate the NIL up at Kentucky.
Yeah, man, it would have helped me out, especially coming out of college and not getting a shot in the pros. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just glad that kids are able to capitalize on that now. But it definitely would have helped. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So Courtney, he got hurt, and I'm out there practicing with one. I messed up on a play, and here comes House, just cussing me from one end to the other. And then I mess up again, and then here he comes again. And I could vividly remember him like stopping midway and just turning around. And I was like, what's going on? And then I feel somebody grab me on the shoulder. Darius spun me around, and he said, man, he goes, we can't trust you out here. And that, man, that hit me in the heart like an iceberg, man. That really did. It's one thing to, take criticism and an ass ripping from your coach, but when your teammate comes down and says that, we can't trust you, that's a whole different type of pain. And so from that moment on, I was spending extra time in the film room. I'm stretching more with Coach Ed, doing more drills, this and that, so I could prepare going into spring ball next year to be the starter. And thankfully, the transfer portal wasn't like it is now to where guys had to sit out a year, because at that time I didn't show enough to where House or Stoops or anybody could believe in me to be the starter. So they might have went out and got somebody that was more experienced and be able to plug in the system right away. So big shout out to my brother Darius for that and helping me, really lock into, why I'm there and really understand that, this opportunity only comes around once in a lifetime. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's stories that we don't get to hear. So I'm glad we got to hear that. We just usually get to hear, hey, Kash is ready to play. Everyone else is ready to play. The practice did this. We didn't get to hear those inside sources. That's really cool to.
And I may have missed this, but you actually left high school a semester early, didn't you?
Yep, I did.
Yeah. He said earlier that he was
I thought he did.
earlier. Yeah. I'm bringing this question real quick. Matt brought up just so Matt, I ain't trying to not bring you up here. Who was better in high school, you or your rival school's Chris Stapleton?
Man, I never got to watch. Chris is a little bit older than me, but I will tell you a cool Chris Stapleton story.
Okay.
So in the subdivision that we moved to, so I was born in Pikeville, Kentucky.
Okay, I didn't know that. I lived in Pike County for a couple years.
I still may be the biggest baby on record to be born at Pikeville Medical Center. I'm not sure on that. But
if you don't mind me interrupting you, what part of Pike County did you live at?
Bowman, right there off of 23. As you come, if you're coming from Betsy Lane to Pikeville, a little double wide trailer over there.
My wife is from Pike County, down towards East Ridge in that area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's almost down there through the cut through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we moved to Paintsville when I was 7, and we lived in the same neighborhood as my grandparents, fortunately. And so going back to me just being, doing whatever I had to do to, ultimately just get myself in better shape and better mindset, I would run through my neighborhood in the evenings. And I can remember one time coming up to the stop sign to check, see if anybody's coming or whatnot. I look over and there's this guy sitting on his front step, and he's got long hair with a big beard, and he is just absolutely making a guitar cry. I think this was probably, I was in 7th or 8th grade, so this is probably 2011, 2012, something around in there. And I was like, damn, that boy can play. And so I keep on going. And a couple of days later, he's out there doing it again. And I'm running to my grandmother's house. And I was like, Nana, who is that guy up there that lives by the stop sign that's playing this guitar? She goes, is it a Gray House? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, that's so-and-so Stapleton's son. Me and her mom are on a board of something together. Really great. He can really play. I'm like, yeah, he can. And then my buddies introduced me to the Steel Drivers. And I'm like, that's the guy down the street. And they're like, no. They're like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, that's the guy down the street. So I don't see him for, quite a period of time. And by that time, he goes single and comes out with What Are You Listening To? And really starts his career as an artist. And so, unfortunately, his father passed away, and I assumed that he was back for the funeral. And I was running through the neighborhood again, and here he comes dragging out the trash can to the edge of the stoop or sidewalk there. And I'm like, man, I really want to go say what's up to him, but I'm sure he don't feel like being famous right now. And
Right.
I just waved. He waved back, and that was it. So, but I've heard stories he was a great football player. So I mean, I don't know. We would, I guess, we have to leave that up to the old timers that meet at Hardee's every morning, for their coffee and biscuits.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Covered in smoke.
Yep, that's it.
I just think it's neat, like you talk about, you guys moved back, living close to your grandparents, because I think it's what a lot of people don't realize, the family atmosphere, like the family dynamic in Eastern Kentucky. Like we're close to our grandparents, if they're still living. Like we all grew up on a hill with our grandparents, and it's like a lot of people, it's hard for them to understand that bond.
We're still on the hill, Mark. What are you talking about?
I mean, we still live in the same place, and it's just hard for people to understand that bond you get with your family that don't just live in your house, but that just live around you.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate for that, man. Like, family's a big, a big aspect of my life. And like I said, I was attached to my grandfather's hip, from day one. We were best friends, and, he would take me everywhere with him I can remember going to our local hotel, the Ramada Inn, that had a restaurant inside of it called the Carriage House. And he would take me there, and all of his old time buddies, they would come in and, have lunch with him. And, that's where, I learned, the real world, if you want to put it that way. Him always being at my baseball games and, going to his house for Sunday dinner, and really getting, great advice. If there's one thing I could, wish I could go back and do is, really hone in and not have one thing go one ear and out the other. It's like a young, dumb kid would. But, he was special, man. If I could have, one more day and give something up in my life right now to just have one more day with him, I would.
Oh, we totally understand that. Our grandpa, he's World War II, POW, shot down an airplane twice, I think it was, and just the different stories he's had from around here. Like, we heard the stories, but now I look back and think, man, if I would have just said, hey, let me actually pay attention to you, Pop, instead of just letting him talk to me and give me money all the time, because he's actually the reason why I fell in love with playing or thinking I could make a career in basketball, because when I was 4 and 5 years old playing in a basketball little league here, every point that I scored, he would give me $1.
He gave you cash,
yeah. And see, Mark, my oldest brother, he didn't score very much, and me being the youngest, I scored a few more points. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna break me now. Like, we got to quit this now."
Yeah, hey, so, I mean, just goes to show, pay for play has been around for
that's right.
since the beginning of time.
We had our own NIL.
My grandpa, our own NIL back in the 90s. Whew.
That's it.
All right, Cash, let's move on past football and some of this here. Of course, we see underneath your name there, of course, my eyes are a little bit the full unscripted. Let's hear about your podcast. What made you want to go into podcasting a little bit and doing what we do so well?
Yeah, man. So I was, I've never been afraid to talk to people. I think, come where we come from, especially, you're kind of forced to, mingle with people on a personal level and really get to know them. And, I just really like talking to people. I love hearing people's stories, and obviously I love sports and, football in general. Being involved in sports media, was something that, if I said, if football don't work out, I would love to be a color commentator. I'd love to be an analyst, maybe work for SEC Network one day, talk for a living. So I tried my own podcast for a little bit, and, I just young and inexperienced with it, really didn't understand, what all went into it. But now learning through failures, just like anything in life, you learn from, failing multiple times to where, we do have fully unscripted, and that's with my buddy Todd Lanner, who was a basketball player here at University of Kentucky. So our dynamic of it is that, he's not really, keen on the football side of things. I'm not really keen on the basketball side of things. So we're going to be asking each other questions that a common fan would almost ask, and get inside scoops and things like that on. So, we work well off each other. We're both very relatable in the athletic world aspect. And it was something that we came to bring to fruition. And now, fortunately, we've piggybacked it to where we'll now be hosting a pregame show on ESPN Radio for football and basketball games starting this Saturday on ESPN Radio. So
awesome.
We'll have that, and then we'll have weekly episodes starting here next week, and really grinding into the football season and ultimately basketball and things of that nature, and try to bring on great guests. We had Kevin Richardson from the Backstreet Boys on as our first guest. He came in person when he was in town in concert, so big shout out to Kevin for making time for us. We've had Jamin Davis on, we've had Duck Hodges on. We've had Coach Marrow on, like you guys have, and so
look at us.
And it's like you guys know, man. The scheduling with some of these guys is pretty hard to work out, especially if they're a professional athlete or a coach or things like that. So we've learned, we failed, and now we're coming back even stronger. So we're looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Good. And look at us, we got Kash Daniel on.
Absolutely. We've had other guests, Jeff Shepard and different people like that, but right now you're my favorite. Like you're the wow. Like I'm trying my best not to geek out because, like I said, everyone in Kentucky has loved watching you play. Just the atmosphere that you brought, the intensity. But
a lot of people just don't realize how successful that group when they got to be seniors were. You guys went to 4 consecutive bowl games. 32 wins in that span. That was the most since, I think, Bear Bryant, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just I don't know, the hype for UK football started coming back, and it made it fun again.
Your class made football for Kentucky to still continue, So it gives us, it's not wait till basketball season because of your 4 or 5 years span there with those players, those teams, and everything.
Yeah, man.
That's why I think it's so memorable.
Yeah, it was a great group, man. And, to really give, the credit is like Josh Allen and, CJ Conrad and, Bunchy Stallings and, all those guys that were a part of my junior year class that were seniors that year, man, because they had been through it. They'd been there when, they weren't going to bowl games and, they were having, their season end early. And, I can remember it, to this day. That when spring ball started, we had a meeting and everybody came together and said, man, we're tired of this. Whatever we got to do, let's lock in. We need a leader in every position room, and just the player-led aspect, which is what Coach Stoops, has built the foundation on. He wants a player-led team. And I can remember in the summer when we would have our quote-unquote practices because the coaches couldn't be out there.
Right.
We ran practice by ourselves. And I think that we could have, if we had to at one point, even when the coaches could have been out there. Matt House gave me and a couple other guys a script. Eddie Grand gave Benny and Terry and all the other offensive guys a script. We went from stretch to indie drill to 7-on-7 to half line pass to, basically ran our entire base defense and offense to where by the time that fall camp rolled around week 1, we were able to install blitz packages, different third down coverage packages that in previous years we wouldn't have been able to do until maybe the last week of camp leading into game 1. So everybody bought in, everybody was committed. And ultimately, I think that's what made that 2018 team, as great as it was and the memories that we made with each other.
Gotcha. Matt's got another question here. Of course, he corrects himself. Who's harder to tackle, Rodriguez or Benny?
That's a good question, man, because they're both like bulls in a china shop, man. They run hard and they hate getting tackled. I could Benny would literally physically get upset when he got tackled. But it just goes to show like how great he wanted to be and, how much he wanted to provide to the team. And I mean, it's hard, man. I tell you, another guy that ran hard was Cavassier Smoke. He ran hard as well. But all of our running backs ran hard, man, because that's what that offense at that time with Eddie Graham was built around was, we're a hard-nosed, run it down your throat, smash mouth football team. And so we need guys that are going to be able to, not only juke a guy out their shoes, but run through a guy's face mask, and that's what they pride themselves on. So, both of those guys ran really hard, man, and it was. I'm not going to say I dreaded tackling because I was was never afraid to go up and put my pad on somebody, but both of those guys were just relentless in how they ran. So I couldn't give you a definite answer on that because they were both just so big and powerful and fast and just everything that you would want in a powerhouse running back.
Awesome. We're at 40 minutes already, Cash. I know your time is probably we appreciate every minute you give us, and I know you're a podcast.
Good, bro.
I was going to say you probably talk to us for forever, but we want to be respectful whatever time we got. Johnny did bring in a question here real quick. He just said, what is your favorite aspect of Kentucky football and basketball?
I think just this Kentucky athletics as a whole, just how passionate the fans are, because we don't have a professional team here in the state of Kentucky.
Right.
Everybody and their brother is either a Bengals fan or, a Reds fan. And so, but that only stretches, so far. But, and I think just because of that aspect that, people take so much pride in University of Kentucky to where it's almost like University of Kentucky is the professional sports team of the state.
Yeah.
And so no matter if it's football, basketball, baseball, even volleyball and women's basketball, especially, and how great those programs are, you just see the overly love and support that, we get from the BBN. And so that's why I always say, man, like it was such a blessing to play for, I think, the greatest fans overall, in college athletics, because they're not just football fans. They're not just basketball fans. They're all around fans. Anytime that there's a UK jersey on a field or on a court, people are going to be showing up and being supportive. So big shout out to BBN. And I'd say that's probably my favorite aspect of it.
Sounds good. So I'm ready for some overtime questions. Mark, you got another one real quick? I can see.
Oh, your hot seat questions?
Yes, I'm calling overtime questions now.
Overtime questions.
That way it's quick, it's fast, so only 4 downs, but there's more than 4 questions. Do you have any that you want to chime in with me, Mark? Because last time
you go right ahead. You enjoy it. If I think of one, I'll throw it out.
All right. You kind of answered a couple of these, but we're still going to do it anyways. All right, ready? What other sport would you have played?
Baseball.
When will you start wrestling?
I think that ship sailed. I kind of had my opportunity with the WWE. At that time, when the first time they came, I was still dealing with some nagging injuries that prevented me from going there. And the second time they came around, I physically could not make it. I had a prior promise that I had to keep and uphold to be at a certain place at that time, so I couldn't do that. And so, but if Vince ever calls me, man, it'd be pretty hard to tell him no.
I think you have a career in it big time. What other careers could you possibly have done if it wouldn't have been something with sports?
Right now I'm in the medical device sales field. So,
okay.
That's a great avenue for a lot of former athletes. JoJo Kemp is in it. My buddy Zach Johnson's in it. I've met a lot of former athletes within my company as well. But if it doesn't involve athletics, it would have to be somewhere between sales and being an entrepreneur.
Cool. Favorite superhero?
Batman
said it so fast. Like not even.
He didn't even hesitate.
No, because you know what his superpower is?
Rich.
He's rich.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Steak. In more particular, elk or deer steak.
Okay, I got you. Well, since you say steak, I have to know medium well. How is it cooked?
We like it bloody, man. We like it medium rare.
Rare. Okay.
We're talking about grandpas.
I know you're just going to talk about Pop right here.
He used to say, "Cut it, knock its horns off, and wipe its butt, and bring it to the table." That's what he'd say.
My granddad would say, because I want that thing still mooing when it hits the plate.
All right. So I got a couple more here. So a date's coming over. Are you cooking or is the date cooking?
I'm cooking, man. I mean, I can whip it up in the kitchen pretty good, man. My Nana, I was one of the only grandchildren that, really took an interest to cooking and being self-sufficient for myself. So I can remember the first time I made eggs myself, how proud I was. And then we had an ice storm come back in like 2009 where it knocked all the power off. And I remember my Nana teaching me how to cook on a cast iron skillet over a fire in there in the living room. So I can whip up some good dishes. Pasta's probably my specialty, alongside grilling, obviously. But as of right now, I'm just on the basic chicken and rice diet right now, man. Just
you're talking about your nana. It did give me a hot seat question real quick. What's the one food that nobody can make it like Nana?
Fried chicken.
Right. That's it. I agree.
Anytime she comes home, she's like, "What do you want to eat?" I was like, "Nana, you already know the answer to this question. I don't get it. I don't get to eat like this ever so often." So, especially when she cooks it for breakfast, man. When she cooks that for breakfast, and we got biscuits and gravy with it, homemade mashed potatoes, some fried eggs, and some apple butter, and going on and on. That fried chicken really hits the spot at about.
You're making me hungry right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, last one: fishing or hunting?
Man, that's a good one. That's really a good one, because you can technically fish all year round because there's no fishing season, and that's really my bread and butter. But if I had to pick one thing that I could do the rest of my life, it'd be turkey hunting. Man, there's nothing that gets me more fired up than seeing the sun come up and hearing those birds gobble and being able to go after them. I'm not a sit around and hope one comes by. If I could hear one holler off, I'm gonna go get him. And I think that's really what the closest thing to football that I've had is that, the turkey's kind of like an offense. They already know what their game plan is. They already know they're going to fly down. They got their walking patterns. They know what they're going to be chasing hens. So it's kind of like the offense already knows what plays they're going to run. As a defensive player, you got to be able to react off what the offense does. So I got to be able to react off what the turkey does. So, if he shuts up within, 100 yards, I got to, determine what I'm going to do next, or locate how far away he is, or anything like that. So I'd probably have to say turkey hunting.
You got to find that hole in the offense, right?
That's it. That's it.
I would actually say turkey hunting is probably my least favorite out of the hunting. I'd rather deer hunt than turkey hunt any day, because I'm ADHD and I can't sit still when that turkey's coming. Like,
well, he doesn't sit still. He stalks the turkey. He just
but when they're coming in, you got to freeze up. Like,
ooh,
I remember one time hunting with my dad. Of course, I was in junior high at that time. We had been hollering like crazy for about 4 or 5 hours in the evening, and finally heard the first gobble. I'm like, okay, we might actually get one here. Yay, this is entertaining now. For 2 hours solid, didn't hear another thing, and I got up to stretch. That was it. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, where was this turkey even at? So after that,
that's why they call it the elusive wild turkey, man. You never know what's going to happen, but there's nothing like when you're just sitting there and that thing he's gobbling within probably 20 yards. He's got that rumble in his voice, and you can feel the bass almost hit your chest. And the next thing you know, he's got his big spread coming out like I'm like, okay, you about to take a dirt nap, big boy. You think you're big and strong? This 12 gauge make your head rock.
Hey, somebody just commented. I got to tell you this. He said, all these answers have just confirmed what I already knew. This guy is by far my favorite UK football player of all time. That was from Daniel Turner.
Hey, appreciate you, Daniel. Love you, brother.
Awesome. Well, that kind of concludes our quote interview or overtime questions. Cash, I already talked to you about going into our start bench cut. So we'll go ahead and bring that up. I know you want to stay. I want you to stay and give us your thoughts on this, because I made it. And actually, my wife made the graphic. Shout out to my beautiful wife. But I told her the names to put in on it. And I don't even know who I want to pick still.
Yeah, so,
you made this one hard, man. You really have.
I'm sorry, and I hate it on myself, too. So let me bring up here where I share the screen and see here. Click on it. There we go. I think I can blow that up a little bit more. But this is on our Instagram page, as you can see down there, Cat's Chat Pod. Can you see it pretty good or no?
Yeah, I can see it there.
Okay. Awesome. So, of course, who you got on this? Of course, for our podcast listeners, this is a linebacker start bench cut. And on the three that we have here, I can see it on my. We got Woodyard, Trevathan, and Dupree. All three great linebackers, had great careers with Kentucky. Let's hear what you got.
All right, man. So let's dive into it here a little bit. So Danny Trevathan is an absolute. All these guys are absolute dogs.
Of course.
Okay, and this is because I know all these dudes. So Danny, Bud, Wesley, this does not reflect my opinion on your abilities. I promise you that. You know, Wesley was a part of that group that, you know, in the mid 2000s that, you know, really solidified, you know, Coach Brooks's era here. You know, Danny's a Super Bowl champion. You know, Bud's a Pro Bowler, still at it. Man, it's so hard. But the thing about it is, you know, you got Wesley and Danny, you know, we're both inside backers, and you got Bud, who's an outside linebacker. I'm glad you didn't put Josh in this because biasly I'd have to start Josh. But if I was to build a team, and these were my 3 inside linebackers, let's just pretend that Bud's an inside linebacker. Oh man,
this is rough. Man, he showed this to me last week, and I said, "Dude, are you trying to kill us all?" Like, this is rough.
BBN, don't be upset with me, man. Like this is like, you know,
there's no wrong answers here.
No, I mean this is bad. But all right, I'm ready to do it. I would start Wesley. I would actually no, my bad. I would start Danny because he's just a absolute dog, just like all these guys are. I would. Damn, man. I would. Oh man. I'd bench West and I'd cut Bud. God bless that. That was hard. That was so hard to say, man. Like I just wanted to get like ripping off a Band-Aid.
See, when I actually made this, well, see, that's what I was going to say. When I put this together, I'm like, man, I love Bud. Like, you know, Dupree, just everything, watching him play. That was probably, I was a little bit younger. And I was like, all right, this dude is the name on the Kentucky defense I recognize. Like, this guy is what I remember of defense. But then as I looked at some of the stats, I'm like, well, let me kind of look back a little bit. It's like, I even had to cheat a little bit, looked at like some of the defensive rankings of players from Kentucky that people have made. And they were like 10, 8, and 7 on some of the lists. I'm like, golly, like, I don't even know where to go on this.
Well, the one I'm looking at, they got them ranked 7, 8, 9 in that order.
Oh, okay. So see, like, they're right there. So I mean,
as like the top linebackers.
Well, it just said top all defensive players.
Oh,
this
okay.
list I was looking at, they had
no, not linebackers. Yeah, just defensive players.
Yeah. Okay.
And I even tried to take some pictures on some of these so I can actually have these come back to. Like, sadly, I didn't get the names on the picture, but I think
dogs in that linebacker room, man. You got to remember like Avery Williamson, you know, Josh, obviously,
right?
You know, so many guys. You know, Josh Forrest was a dog. You know, so many great linebackers have came through UK. I guess that's, you know, when I first got there, you know, they called it LBU. You know, just because of all the guys, you know, we've had, you know, come through that linebacker room, whether it be inside or outside. But yeah, man, that one hurt, man. Bud, Wes, Danny, I love all y'all, man. Like y'all are some dogs, man. So don't take that personally. That was bad, man.
I actually the way I was leaning, and you kind of want me to change it, but I'm not. I'm gonna stick. I had Woodyard starting. I was going to bench Dupree and cut Trevathan.
I mean, it's really, you could go either way, and you're still going to have a great linebacking core.
If I'm a coach, this is a problem I would love to have.
That you know, that's one of the things I'm glad those are decisions I don't have to make. It's like I was watching Hard Knocks last night, man, and you know, there's so many talented players that are on your team, but it's unfortunate that, you know, they have to, you know, let, you know, 2 or 3 of those guys go.
Yep.
And you know, that would just be that's probably the roughest decision that a coach has to make right there.
Yeah.
Who is he going to keep, and you know, who's he going to cut? Now, granted, sometimes, you know, it sometimes, you know, depending on how they did in camp or preseason,
right?
You know, it kind of helps their you know, their decision. But if you got guys that are in that room that are competing every day and they're making plays in practice, they're doing the right things, they're staying after. They're making plays not only in practice but in the pregame or preseason games as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely hate to be in that position to tell a kid that, hey, you know, you were good but you weren't good enough. So,
right.
But yeah,
and those coaches, they make it. Those coaches make it look easy too. It's like, man,
Well, I'm telling you,
the
man,
line for us.
I mean, that's just how cutthroat the NFL is, man. I learned that the hard way. So, I mean, I never got a chance to suit up, but I had a pretty good idea of where I was going to go as a free agent, and then, I get the call that they red flagged my medical records, and that was over with. So, it's like, man, it's like I didn't even get, not that I didn't even have a chance. It's like they didn't even give me, the chance to even show that I'm healthy. That was the best I ever felt in my life, but. It is what it is, man. But, there's a reason why those guys are there and in that league. They're the best of the best. And so, big shout out to all the boys in blue that are representing it in the league, whether they're on the 53 or on a practice squad, man. I'm proud of all you guys. And, it's great to see that we have now consistent combine invites, guys going in the draft, guys getting an opportunity outside of rookie mini camp. So big shout out to all those dudes that are able to live out their dream and strap up an NFL helmet, jersey, and shoulder pads. So big shout out to all those guys.
Yeah, they must not have realized how tough you were. I guess they don't remember you playing with a broken hand against Vandy.
Well, I think that's kind of what happened with the medical records. They were
really.
I mean, I don't know. They probably looked and said, "Oh, this guy's had a bunch of concussions. He's had shoulder surgery. He's had hand surgery. He's had back issues. And it was." When I finally graduated and I didn't have to go to class, didn't have to go to tutoring, didn't have practice every day. It was the best I ever felt. And then old Uncle COVID came through and and ruined that for everybody. So,
Cash, I'm just going to be honest with you, man. There's two jobs that I think of that I think is what you need to be doing. One is a strength conditioning coach on Kentucky's football team. That guy that's in there, hey, let's get this. And two, I think you need to be like an inspirational speaker somewhere. Like, I don't know what it is about you, but every word that you say, I think you have an audience that are just at the grips of every word that you say, waiting to be inspired of what all you've went through, what all you've done, and just your life journey and how you perform at football and everything. I'm just going to tell you, I think you ought to be an inspirational speaker somewhere.
Man, that's I've had a couple opportunities to speak to some groups. Got to talk to a couple high school groups here in Lexington. I get to talk to the Paintsville team before the game on Friday.
Awesome.
I've shared my life story with a lot of people, and so it just comes back to me, just not being afraid to really open my book of my life and the good, bad, the ugly, and just how you just got to keep pressing forward, man. There's
Absolutely.
When you think that that life is really punching you in the gut and you seem like you can't get a break, I just got to reflect back and say, well, man, one thing I always say, and then I got to steal this from my dad. He said, I'd come home and he'd say, how was practice and how's this, and whatever the case may be, and I'd be complaining or whatever it was, and he would say, well, at least you're not trapped in the desert, 110 degrees with no water and bullets flying over your head. And I'm like, yeah. We said, well, at least you're not having to go out, and walk 12 miles for water, or you're not having to, wonder, where your next meal is coming from. So, whenever you think that, life is being unfair or life is, kicking you down, you just got to be thankful for the stuff that you do have. Like, for me, man, like, did I want to be an NFL football player? Absolutely. That was my dream when I was a kid. But right now, I got a roof over my head. I got some chicken in the air fryer. I got, I got a bed to sleep in. I'm able to pay my bills right now. I'm able to take a hot shower. I got a car, or I got a truck that'll get me from point A to point B. There's just so many little things that, you can look to be thankful for in this life that a lot of people would do anything to have. So,
we talked about that even at church tonight, how a lot of times we look past our blessings that we're blessed with right now, and we're so quick to forget about them because we're selfish.
Yeah, man. And everybody's human. There's times where, like, I'll be frustrated, or, if something that I worked for so hard doesn't go my way,
Yep.
I can just, I'm throwing a pity party for myself for a brief moment. And I'm like, man, like, what are you doing? There's people back home right now that don't have electricity, that are living on dirt floors, that, that a lot of people don't understand. And like, dude, you get to do the stuff that you do.
Yeah.
And even with football, like there's kids that are physically unable to play football. And that's my message to a lot of these kids. Like, you don't understand the opportunity that you have right now, not just to go out and play a game, but to live the life that you do on a regular basis, And my thing was do it for the ones who can't. There's so many kids out there that are, born with or have an accident that keep them limited to not only playing athletics, but just living a quote unquote normal life. So, there's so many things to be thankful for. There's so many things that, you could look to and say, you know what, it may not have worked out the way that I wanted to, but, at least that, I have A, B, C, D. That's the first thing I do. Like when I wake up in the morning, man, I write out 3 things I'm thankful for, every day, no matter what's going on. I find something different every day. And, that just lets me know that, even if there's some things in life that don't work out the way you want to, or some things that just don't love you back, there's always something to be thankful for. So like, I'm thankful for my family, I'm thankful for, just really anything and everything that comes in my life. Even you even got to be thankful for the bad stuff, that happens in your life as well, because
you grow from it.
You grow, and here's the thing: it could have been it could be a blessing in disguise that you never knew about. So until you find out years later. So they always said that the 2 most important days of a man's life is the day he's born and the reason he finds out why. So, yeah, man. If there's any message you guys take away from this, anybody listening, man, just be thankful for, for what you have. Be thankful for your family. Be thankful for your friends. Be thankful for, anything that you got in your life, because it could easily be taken away from you. It could easily not happen. So just be grateful and be thankful, man.
This has been awesome. Just the fact that I feel like we've just been sitting around talking like we've been friends our whole life. You know what I mean?
That's that East Kentucky tie right there.
It's kind of like stepbrothers. Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry for this guy right here. No, I'm playing.
Oh no, man. You guys made it fun, man. I appreciate you guys having me on and doing what you guys do. So good luck with everything, man. And if there's ever anything I can do to help you guys, man, I'm always just a DM away. Keep plugging. If this is something you guys really want to do, just you guys can do it. So I'm thankful you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Real quick, what's the score for this Saturday?
That's a good question. This Saturday, so Kentucky's had a tendency to play down to their competition, even when I was there. But here's the thing: it's week 1. We got an inferior opponent. I believe in the fact that Liam Cohen is able to dial up plays that may be our home run hitter, but then be able to do it out of a different formation or out of a different motion, a different set, different spot on the field, to where, are we showing something? Yeah. But are we showing everything to where an Alabama or a Tennessee or a Florida or someone can sit there and pinpoint of, when they get to here, they're going to do this. If it's after a big game, they're going to do this. And that's kind of how things go in a meeting room throughout the week that people don't really understand, is that, even if let's say, we do have a brand new offensive coordinator this year, but, let's say we had somebody like last year with Scangarello, if an opposing defense is watching film on us, obviously he's not been there at Kentucky, but they're watching stuff where he was previously. So his NFL days, wherever he had his stints in college. So that goes for, so many, schools across our schedule, to where, we're looking, where they did stuff before, then that's shout out to all the guys in the video room and the GAs that spend countless hours of breaking down film and, really puzzling everything together to give us a chance and an opportunity to not really, guess, but have an educated opinion on what might happen. So, but to answer your question, what's the spread on us? 14.5?
Something like that. I've not seen the spread.
I'm gonna go 35 10 Kentucky.
Okay.
35.
I was thinking close to that. I was thinking like 35-14 maybe.
Yep. Something like that. But
actually,
Brad White has those boys ready to go on defense. We've got a stacked front seven. Probably one of our biggest defensive linemen that we've had. Since Coach Stoops has gotten there, we got two great young linebackers in the middle back there. We got JJ on the outside edge. We got a great experienced defensive back group. So I think it's going to be another top 5 defensive performance this season for the Cats because, Brad White's a genius. He's almost like a magician back there, man. I would not be surprised if you saw Brad White be an NFL defensive coordinator within the next 5 to 8 years.
I'm just going to tell you, you talked about earlier, you could see yourself being a color commentator. I could totally see you being color commentator for football in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, man, if y'all got any contacts with ESPN or SEC Network, man, this.
Well, listen, I don't have that big a
off the backboard. I'll come slam
it. Anytime you want to do color commentary with me, I do the local high school games for the radio, so I tell Josh he'd have to set out a game.
Anytime,
but I don't know if you've seen Calipari's Instagram, but he just took a picture with some girl at ESPN who went to UK.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, I can't remember because I actually started messaging her, be like, "Hey, would you like to do our podcast?" But he had something about she graduated UK. I want to say she was on the baton with the marching band, maybe. Okay. So there's you a connection that you might be able to reach out to.
Cool, absolutely, man. And I've been fortunate to have connects with Alyssa Lang and Chris Doring and Peter Burns and Tebow and all those guys at the SEC Network, man. And they've been a great help to me. I'd ask Peter all the time, how do I get there? And he would tell me about his local radio show that he had. He was talking about just keep grinding away at it. It's like anything you want in life, man. You just got to grind.
That's the truth. And that's what
if you'd have told me 2 months ago, I'd be interviewing all these guests and talking to Kash Daniel on a random Wednesday night, I'd have been like, no way.
That's when he's got to believe in yourself, man. Bet on yourself no matter what, man. The biggest thing of betting on yourself that I've seen, man. So Tyler Childers is also a Paintsville High School graduate, and he played. So my buddy Luke, he won a pool party at our project prom that we had our junior year, I think. And Childers was still grinding away, but everybody back home loved him. We would listen to him, on YouTube or on SoundCloud or wherever we could find his music. And Luke was like, Cash, you think you could tweet Childers to see if he come play at this pool party? And I was like, and Twitter back then, you would tweet somebody like it's a direct message almost. So
yeah.
I said, hell, I don't care. So I tweet him and say, hey, bud, you want to come play at the Paintsville City Pool for Luke's graduate or pool party that he won? Man, he showed up. We charged people $5 at the door to come and watch him play. And there's if you look up Tyler Childers Paintsville City Pool, there's still a video of him just sitting on a picnic bench with his guitar, and he played for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't think anybody ever got in the pool. And then
that is awesome.
And then fast forward so many years later, man, he's selling out Rupp Arena and one of the biggest names in music. So, just no matter what the situation may look like, man, just bet on yourself.
Absolutely. See, he thinks I'm crazy because I'm like DMing everybody here. Some people respond, some people don't. But hey, if I don't message you, you're gonna say no.
Hey, what did Michael Jordan say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
yep.
But Cash, I thank you so much, man, for coming on here. Hopefully you can join us another time, maybe when the season's going in, kind of dive into more of what's going on in the football games. I've flat out enjoyed this. I feel like, like my brother said, I feel like we just hung out here. I don't know, got Mountain Dew in our cups and just sitting around outside and listening to the birds crow or something.
The only thing better is if we were catching some crappie right now.
Hey, man.
I'd rather bass fish any day. Would you rather crappie or bass fish? Or
I'm
crappie,
a bass
whatever
fisher,
you
man. The only time I ever catch crappie is when I accidentally catch them cranking in the spring. So
that's right. See,
yeah.
I'm too ADHD. I don't want to just sit still. Give me something I can frog. What lure do you like? What's your go-to lure?
It really depends on the situation. So I'm a big power fisherman. And I'm shallow water. I can't fish deep, especially these guys with live scope. Man, I think live scope person's cheating, but that's just my maybe my boomer head mindset of fishing. But
have a boat. I wade fish. That's the way to go with the TRD.
Oh, yeah. Up here, we did that. Me and my buddies went about 3 days ago up here to Elkhorn Creek. We caught some pretty good smallmouth out there.
Awesome. That's the only thing I do.
Yeah, I'm a shallow water guy, man. It's fun. I like square bill crankbaits. I like flipping jigs, running a chatterbait. And in the summertime, obviously, if we got some matted grass or some thick cover, I like to throw a frog or a buzz bait in the evening. There's nothing. I mean, there's two bites that you really can't beat. One's a jig bite, and the other one's a topwater bite. You can't beat
Topwater. Topwater will get you addicted to
Daniel
fishing.
just said you got to throw a fluke, man.
A fluke, man. That's the only time I've ever thrown a fluke is when it's like the water's like 42, 43 degrees, and I'm at the mouth of a pocket and maybe got some standing timber in it, and I'm just trying to find suspended fish that are feeding up on shad that runs right by their face. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of people win tournaments on flukes, and I'm not knocking fluke fishing at all, but it's just, like I said, I'm more of a power fisherman. Kind of like turkey hunting, I want to go after them, and bass fishing, I want to be able to go after them as well.
Yeah. I think it's cool now that they have high school bass fishing teams.
Oh, actually, hey, I'll tell you what. So one thing that I should have put on my ticker underneath here was, former UK bass fishing team.
That's right. I forgot all about that. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, man, I still got my jersey and everything. Of course, I couldn't have sponsors on there because, I was, NCAA athlete, but I still got my logo, my name on there. So I only got to fish.
That's pretty cool.
I got to fish one tournament, and big shout out to Coach Stoops for letting me do that. This was going into my senior year, and I asked him, I was like, man, I said, I said, it's during spring ball. I said, it's after spring ball, this tournament. He's like, man, he goes, I don't care. You do what you want. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I got to go fish. I fished Kentucky Lake with my buddy that was on the fish team too. And we were the only boat to run to Lake Barkley because I knew the water was going to be dirty. I'm a dirty water fisherman, shallow and dirty. So everybody else ran to Paris, Tennessee to ledge fish. We ran to Lake Barkley to try to pitch a few out, and ultimately we blanked. But it was still a good experience. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Like there's so many opportunities for kids to get into fishing now, and it's great that people are taking the time and effort, especially the coaches and the sponsors for them to go out there and really do and stuff that they enjoy. I mean, I learned how to bass fish and hunt before I learned how to play football. So, and some of my best memories are, winning tournaments with my dad or, just being out there fishing with him and, fishing in general or hunting. So, yeah, man, it's crazy how they've turned it into. Now, I mean, I've not missed a college national championship in bass fishing probably the last 3 years. I mean, I'll watch it live all day.
And I mean, they get scholarships for it. Like a kid from our high school.
Full ride.
He got a full ride, I think, to Kentucky Christian University. Dalton Blakely, he's up there fishing for them now. And I said, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Getting a full ride.
Tell these kids, find something you like, get a scholarship with it.
Yeah.
I mean, esports even.
Push your body through the ringer, not having to, go out and run wind sprints. All you got to do is learn how to fish and pitch a jig and throw a crankbait and learn how to use life scope. It's about all you got to learn how to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, the pain of keeping a boat going is sometimes just as bad. I said boats are always like just constant money you got to pour into them.
Hey, they always say another thing too. They say the two best days of a fisherman's life is the day he buys his boat and the day he sells it.
All right, Kash, thank you again so much. We're over an hour here. We've not even went any further than just talking with you, which is awesome, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
You got to come back on some other time. Appreciate
anytime,
it.
Boys. Anytime. And I appreciate y'all having me on.
We're so awesome of, podcasters, if you ever want us to join over on yours, be like, we're famous here. Cats chat on your podcast. We totally understand and we accept, just so you know.
Hey,
okay.
Anytime, man. Hey, we also got a hotline y'all can call in for the pregame show. So when y'all call in, ask some good questions, and hopefully everybody here listening, tune into ESPN Radio this weekend. It'll be me, Todd Lanner, and Anna Torillo. We'll also be, if you guys are ever in Lexington, we're going to be live from the campus pub over there off Waller Avenue, which is the closest establishment to the stadium. So we'll be over there doing our shows on home games, and then I think we'll be there for away games as well. So if you want to come have a good time with us, come over there, and we'll talk fishing, we'll talk football, we'll talk turkey hunting, we'll talk life, anything and everything, man. So y'all come hang out with us someday.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Appreciate you again for coming on.
Hey, man, no problem. You have a good one, all right?
You too, man.
Thanks.
All right.
I like how Bub's trying to get him go shark fishing.
Bub, get out here.
There's all kinds of fishing all the time, man. Like, I could sit and talk fishing and sports with him all day.
Oh, yeah. I can just talk with him all day.
It doesn't even seem like we've had this show going this long, man.
No.
Like, it's just like I said, that's what I love about this podcast. We just bring people in. We just talk about stuff.
And that's one thing I like about Eastern Kentucky, too. Like, I know we're covering Kentucky sports, but we have been basic Eastern Kentucky with a lot of our stuff. Jeff Shepard with his son living in London, Blair and her mom came on last week. Blair Green, that is, played for Kentucky. Of course, Blair went to Harlan County High School with you. We had on Trent Noah as well. And then, of course, now we just had Kash on, who was Pike County, Johnson City County / everywhere. So, yeah, man, it's been great. I mean, we even got some Chris Stapleton stuff talked into this episode. So it's been fully packed. I absolutely love it.
I never did it. I never did even have to pick which linebackers I go with, so that made it even better. Because
I was going to call you out on that, but then we got back to the inspiration, like what he needs to be doing is going to these.
I was kind of the same as him. I would probably go Woodyard.
Of course you were. Don't you dare! You can't do that.
Well, actually, I was going to go Trevathan Woodyard because Trevathan actually has a Super Bowl.
Right.
So I kind of had to go Trevathan, Woodyard, Dupree. But like I said, I was like him. I've loved all three of them. It was no disrespect to any of them. But we just got to talking about everything else. So I was just like, I'm not even going to fool with it. Bring it up. I'm having fun talking about fishing.
What a turd. You made me pick. You even said, what about you, Michael?
Yeah. Well, you're the one that made that. So that's on you.
I know.
No, you got to make it a little bit easier, man. Give me somebody like that's not.
Let's not say names. We don't want to be just.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. I'm going to share this screen. I think we've got it pulling up here. Let's just go through some of these. We can be kind of quick since we're already over an hour.
Yeah, some of the games coming up this week. You were talking about these SEC games coming up. It's always hard for me to bet against an SEC team because I still think the SEC is the toughest division in football.
Everyone knows it. If they don't believe it, they're lying.
Now, I'm looking at some of the SEC games here. I do see the Florida-Utah. I do believe Utah will probably pull that one out. I don't really know everything Florida has this year. I don't really study a lot of the other SEC teams other than the ones that I love, like UK, And I hear stuff about Tennessee just because there's Tennessee fans that live in our area.
We're borderline right there.
So I believe Tennessee will beat Virginia.
Well, hang on. I'm going to keep stat on this and see how we do. So we both
got track of them.
I want to see a record. So we both got Utah, right?
Are you wanting to just pull up the SEC games? Is that what you're wanting to know?
I had it on my phone, but this isn't it, is it?
I apologize. That was Britt Ford that said, let's go shark fishing. That wasn't Bub. I apologize, okay. Britt. My nephew, I love you. I would not do that. I just saw Britt Lawson. All right, so the SEC, let's see. So you're going to keep track of this just so you can make fun of me when I miss a bunch of them. That's what you're going to do.
That's what my plan is. I hope right. So I got Vandy beating Hawaii.
I guess you do because Vandy already beat Hawaii.
1-1. All right. So no, I got Utah winning against Florida. Florida apparently
that would be my pick.
Down big time, and that's a huge match for them. Okay, and then we got.
I got Missouri.
I'm with you. I don't like Missouri. I don't know why. That's my least favorite team that we ever added to the SEC. All right. So next we got Virginia and Tennessee on ABC on 12 o'clock on the 2nd. Tennessee, of course, ranked 12th. Virginia not ranked. I think we're both in agreement that Tennessee's going to win this one.
I'm just going to say, I'm looking down this list. The only SEC teams that I think even have a shot at losing, that South Carolina, North Carolina game is going to be a good one. I believe the grit of an SEC team could overcome North Carolina.
Especially it being the Carolinas too. Like that's going to be a little juicy.
Yeah, it's going to be a rivalry kind of thing. And I honestly, the LSU and Florida State game should be a good one.
So you got Arkansas, Ole Miss, did you say?
Yeah, I got SEC winning straight out until we get down to those last two, and I just can't make my decision, man. Which I didn't realize Vanderbilt was already playing again.
Yeah.
That's a quick turnaround there.
That week 0 thing they do is so weird.
But the Alabama A&M, I mean, I don't know much about that team. I mean, I'm assuming they should win that game, but you also got to look. That's a pretty quick turnaround. So, I don't know. I'm going to give Vandy the win, though. It's hard for me not to give Vandy the win there. Because they played fairly well against Hawaii.
Yeah, they did. I'm just now getting to Mississippi State. I'm trying to abbreviate these and get fast. Of course, Georgia is going to win.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If you look at a lot of these matchups, a lot of them are weaker first week matchups.
You know, you may think I'm crazy on this, and I probably am, but I'm actually going to go New Mexico over Texas A&M.
And it could happen. New Mexico, they've had decent football teams of the past. It's hard for me to bet against an SEC team. It just is.
Let's see here, Texas A&M. You're saying Vandy over Alabama, right? A&M.
Oh yeah, A&M. Yes.
Yes, not Alabama. Alabama.
Alabama's going to beat MTSU.
Hell, I missed the Kentucky game. Where's Mississippi, Georgia, Texas A&M, Alabama. Alabama over Middle Tennessee State. Who you got in the South Carolina and North Carolina?
I got South.
I'm going to be crazy, and I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Well, I mean, it's not crazy. They're the ranked team. They're probably favored to win.
Well, here's my thing on this. I don't think South Carolina is as good as everyone is saying that they are. Like, they're having Kentucky losing to South Carolina. Granted, I think they are a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think they're mid in the SEC. But I just feel like Kentucky's going to have much more depth, which we've lost 2 linebackers, which we're not going to dive into because of time and everything. Or I said linebackers, linemen, offensive line. So our depth is getting a little bit slimmer before the season even starts. But I'm going to go ahead and try to say that South Carolina loses this game, and that's going to be the trend for them for the rest of the year, and Kentucky does beat them. So
I'm just going to say the ACC is not known for football.
Well, North Carolina has been pretty good here recently.
Okay, they've had several teams that have been good, but
I agree.
They've not been elite.
ACC, they got Clemson and stuff, but yeah. So who you got in Florida State?
Clemson's always been good, but I'm just saying. Now what?
I said, who y'all got who do you have for the Florida State and LSU?
LSU.
You got LSU? I really want to go Florida State, man.
Well, I did too, but it's hard for me, man. LSU, the Bayou Bengals, it's hard to. I'm going all SEC first week, man.
I'm going to Florida State just so we can have some different answers. So I got Florida State, I got North Carolina, and I think I picked New Mexico as my 3. I'm going to basically say upsets against the SEC or the winners against the SEC. So that's our 3 games that we are different on that.
I'm just happy to have football back, man.
Oh, me too. And like
I saw a meme today or a GIF. It was something I don't remember, but it was like a groom crying at the front of the altar. And it said when you and then it went to the game day table and showed the guys sitting there. And it's like, this is how we all feel this week, getting football back.
Absolutely. So I've got the caption underneath us, the ticker here, Kentucky versus Ball State. I'm pretty sure either I dreamed this or not, and I want to make this official. Did we not make a bet that a touchdown would be scored by the air or by run? Something would go on between us.
I don't remember.
I was thinking that I was going with a passing touchdown. You was going with a run. And someone dared us to do a TikTok dance, the loser. I mean, did I dream that?
I would do a TikTok dance for free. I mean, that's not.
Okay.
I don't have to lose a bet. If you want me to do a TikTok dance, I'll do it. I don't remember, but.
I feel like we did something like that, but I can't remember. Anyways, I was going to say I'm going to pass for the first touchdown. What do you think?
I'm thinking it's going to be a run. I'm thinking we're going to get a pass. It's going to now, unless we just break one open, a Hail Mary type. But I look for the first touchdown to be a run.
A run, okay. I don't think we'll be going on our first touchdown. I think it'll be at least 20 yards out.
And it could be. You could be right.
Right.
But you could have Davis just break one free too. So.
Key. It's going to be the touchdown. Dane Key, Kentucky native as well.
I'll be honest, I don't care how we score them as long as we score
them. You sound like me making up words now. But I did look on Bleacher Report. The spread actually is 24 points for Kentucky in favor. So, yeah, I do think he's right at it. I was going to actually say my prediction for the score is going to be 35-21, but it sounds like you guys are probably more closer on that. What did you say? Let's do
35-14. I feel like first week jitters. I think we are 24 points better. I'm just saying, I think first week jitters, we may have a couple mistakes here and there. And I could be totally wrong, man. I hope we just come out and dominate. That's what I want. Get some experience for the second team. That's what I want.
Yeah, I'm excited to have football back, especially even just high school sports been going on. So much fun hearing different players and doing different things, keeping up with the Facebook comments and posts of what all's went on. We've got a lot of local teams in here. I think Corbin's now second in the state of Kentucky in high school rankings. I was happy to see Hopkins, DeMarco Hopkins, getting recognized for some
down there at Jacksonville State.
So, mountain sports is just wonderful to be a part of. And now we got Kentucky going on with this. So let's get it.
Hey, and listen, I love Josh Caldwell to death, but Cash just said he would come to a game with me. So I'm going to have to add a third headset in there and have Cash come to a game with us. I think it'd be fun.
I think it'd be pretty cool too, actually. And I think he'd be totally down to do it, actually. So, guys, if you have tuned in just recently, we have really just shot the bull with Kash Daniels for about an hour, and then we kind of just went at a lineup real quick. It's been a lot of fun. He gave some really inspiring quotes, just down-to-earth conversations about life and how really your perspective is kind of where you stand in life. Everyone has situations go on with us, with ourselves. We all have bad things happen. We all have good things happen. But he kind of put it down to no matter what, look to the positive to it. I like that he said as soon as he wakes up, he writes down 3 things that he's thankful for. I think a right state of mind helps a lot with that. But I
think if we all did that, we would have a different perspective on life.
Absolutely. I just saying that because if you tuned in now and you didn't get to hear any of that, go back and listen to this again. And this is not me trying to get an extra follow or a listen or a plug on that. I really think he said some really heartfelt, meaningful things there.
I think you're right. He should have been an inspirational speaker.
He really should, because while he was talking, all I could sit there and think is my time at Alice Lilly College. Every Tuesday, I had to wear a suit and tie and listen to people speak about the dumbest things. Like, man, if this guy would have got up there and said, "Man, I played at Kentucky. You know me from doing this." Cash.
He had me here believing in myself.
Exactly, because even you, I mean, let's be honest. I know we're live right now, but in our talks about doing this podcast, you're like, man, I don't know if we're doing good.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I doubted myself. I was like, dude, I'm a play-by-play guy. I mean, I'm just known for being the guy that's like announcing, here is Johnny David and Billy, and that's what I'm known for, is just talking with my voice and not actually diving into the, I guess we'd say as country boys, the meat and taters of sports,
Meat and taters. You gotta have that cornbread too, though.
But it's just, I don't know. And I don't know. He had me fired up. I was ready to go. Man.
I love that he said, believe in yourself. And, you hear so many times people say, if your goals don't make someone else laugh, your goals aren't high enough. And I appreciate him taking the time really away from the football aspect of our podcast and just kind of give life lessons there.
And like, people don't understand with Eastern Kentucky, like, he said there toward the end, he said, if y'all ever need anything, holler at me. We'll do it again. Like, he's being sincere. Like,
sincere.
Like,
he's actually already messaged.
Yeah, holler at me, but they never answer their phone. Like, I'm probably going to have people mad at me now. I've had people message me for help with math, and I'm on here doing a podcast. So I was like, I apologize, but I couldn't step away from that interview. It's just so much fun.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't Cash, you're not stepping away from this podcast. But with that being said, guys, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We're at an hour and 30 minutes almost, and that is way
longest podcast yet.
For my ADHD to sit still. Like, thank goodness this is a chair because my bottom half has been spinning the whole time. But Mark, where can people find you at on social media? Let me get that.
You can find me on X or Twitter at mlawson15. You can find me on Facebook with Mark Lawson, doing an elegant pose with my co-host Josh Caldwell for our radio broadcasting. You can find me on Instagram at Big Daddy Lawson. And by gosh, if you play Xbox, join me on Xbox. Big Daddy Lawson there too. So pretty much all the places. Or you can find me teaching math at Harlan County High School Monday through Friday.
All right, guys, for myself, underneath my name here, where it says Michael, it has our link tree / Cats Chat Pod. It has all of our social medias links in there. Of course, we are on YouTube. We appreciate every subscription that you all do there or subscribe there. Click the notification for when we do go to live here. You'll get that notification. We are on podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts now too. So we'd appreciate anyone who goes and downloads those, subscribes, give us a 5-star rating because we think we deserve at least a 4.
I honestly never, usually when I do something, I never go back and listen to it. But being able to, with it on Apple, I could just go download it to my phone and I listen
while
to
you
it on the way
drive.
to the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
Josh,
to see
actually,
how dumb I sound or how good I sound,
And hopefully my mic's not nearly as loud. We can keep adjusting as we see it played on podcast. But guys, thank you all so much for your attention, I guess. I don't know.
Well, just for joining in with us. It's been fun.
There we go. For joining in. Until next time, as always, love God, love others, and love Kentucky sports.
God bless.